Hey everyone, welcome to day 3 of the Ask Me Almost Anything marathon. I'm Stacy Casson, the Clarity Concierge. For those of you who can't see me, I'm a very tan woman. I'm wearing clear glasses. I have short, curly, wavy, salt and pepper hair. Have on a black, colorful top, and I'm against a white background. So before we get started, let's just take a moment to arrive and take a deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. Deep breath in and exhale. All right. So we'll start like we always do with the Pokemon card of the day. And let's see what we have for today. I have a bag of Pokemon cards. Oh, today we have fighting energy. So this card, for those of you that can't see it, is a deep orange card, and it has a glowing orange fist in the center, like it's a black fist. Sorry, it's a glowing orange sphere, and then there's a black fist in the center. So today is about fighting. It's about where you want to place your energy to keep this going. So I am fighting to keep motivated to do this, and I'm only on day 3, but that's okay because I have been learning a lot from these things. And for those of you that are watching the replay, hi team replay, I might actually bust into some of my other decks, and you may get a sneak peek of what is going to be on the blog. Yeah, fighting. Hi, Esmar. Welcome to the party. Fighting is something that we're all doing right now for what is happening in Gaza and Sudan and the Congo, like even in Haiti, Puerto Rico. I mean, there's so much things to fight about. In Florida, the battle against erasing transgender people, and all over the world. And you know what? I heard some good news today. I think it's from Erin in the morning. If you're not following her, please do. But Erin Reed, I believe, is the name. But in Iowa, they showed up and basically had to shut down the legislative branch. So that bill failed because people showed up. So if you need another reminder today that all of us together, when we work in concerted efforts together, we really can make a difference. As Mara posted today about find a protest near you, it may not seem like you're doing anything, but there's tons of people all around the world. And even if it doesn't get news coverage, they're making an impact. They're shutting things down so that it can't go on business as usual. So yes, power to the people. Thank you, my friend. So that's our theme for today, fighting. I don't know what battles you're fighting, but it's also about where are you placing your energy, which seems to be a common theme. And while Ms. Kazmi is thinking of her questions, I went around and thought about, well, I didn't really thought about, but I wanted to try out this spread I learned from another person, and it's about conflict resolution. And I haven't done it with the Pokemon cards, so we'll do that one with the Pokemon cards and see what comes up for us. And I'll use another deck for my actual blog because it's always interesting to me how things differ depending on what decks you use. So the first thing in conflict resolution is you. And this one you get a Skrelp. So a Skrelp is a poison Pokemon card. It kind of lurks in the bottom of the ocean, pretending to be seaweed. And sorry, it's not a poison Pokemon card. It's a psychic energy Pokemon card. So we're back to our intuition. Oh, but better yet, we have a question. How can we better rejuvenate our spirits in the midst of these necessary fights? How can we rejuvenate our spirits in the midst of these necessary fights. That's a really awesome one, Ismara. So let's dive into that. So the first thing we'll think about is, well, what's happening? And for your question, we get the fire Pokemon card. So this is fire energy. It is a orange card with a glowing orange sphere and a stylized flame. So when we think about what is happening right now, there's literal fires, like, because I know Ismar's particular fight, aside from just everybody, is a focus on what is happening in Palestine. So it is literally on fire. Our world is on fire. We're on fire. Like, we're fired up to try and make a change. So the things that fire needs, I concentrate on, what does a fire need? A fire needs oxygen to keep going. You can't just light a log, as I've talked about before. You start out with kindling, which is fine, flammable, combustible material. So think of all of us together in these necessary fights. We're the kindling. The spark is the bigger vision that we're fighting for. We're fighting for freedom. And we're not just fighting for Palestine, we're fighting for ourselves, because we're all connected in this world. If you think that's for people over there, you're really not paying attention, because these same things are happening all over the world, and even in so-called civilized countries. Maybe you're not seeing the impact because you're not one of those impacted groups. Maybe you have the privilege to go about your day as if nothing is going on, that you're 20 billion miles away. But I promise you, it is connected. You are being impacted, even if you don't feel it yet. And when it hits you, you're going to be shocked because you're not paying attention. So what is happening right now is fire. And where are we putting our energy? So we're spending a lot of energy in these battles, right? That's probably what's happening now, or that's what I want you to reflect about, Asmar. What is happening now? Where are you putting your energy? What is lighting you up? And are you potentially facing burnout, which is the next one, is the challenge. And the challenge card is ironically a water Pokemon energy card. This card is a blue card. It has a blowing blue sphere with a water droplet. And so we have two opposing forces, fire and water, and they can put each other out, right? The water can put out the fire, or they come together and they make steam. So when we're thinking of the challenge, it is also not letting our emotions run the fight, because this is really emotional work that is being done when you're fighting these fights. So the challenge is also this rest, right? So that's the spirit of your question. How can we rejuvenate in this fire, right? What are the things we can do? And part of it, I think, is to think about what is happening on an emotional level, because our external world is kind of colored and shaped by our mindset. We kind of make the world around us based on our mindset. So how can we have that necessary peace and focus and solid core, that cool, calm, collected core, to be strategic in our fights with this fire, right? How can we be strategic? And again, like you were asking, what are we trying to do to rejuvenate our spirits? It could be literal, like drink some water, right? If we're going out there to these protests or to whatever you want to do, it's important to stay hydrated. It's important to nourish yourself and take care of yourself. If you're going out, bring sunscreen, right? Because some of these protests are outdoor. Bring sunscreen, bring water if you can. If you can't go, then contribute to mutual aid funds to help the people that are out there on the streets so they can rejuvenate when they're going ahead and doing these battles. So then it's like, okay, that's all well and good, but you still haven't answered the question yet. What am I really doing? And believe it or not, we get another fire card for our advice. So again, this is a glowing orange sphere with a black flame. And again, this is about being strategic about where we want to put our energy. And fires don't generally burn 24/7. Like if you're camping, you set up the fire, and then you cover it with sand to ensure that it is out and it's not going to cause a different kind of fire, an unnecessary fire. So when we're working with fire, we're working with a dangerous substance, but it's only dangerous if you're not working with it correctly. As we've seen, fire can be used to cook our food. Fire can be used to keep us warm. Fire can be used to light the way. And even in some cases, the destructive force of fire can be harvest to clear land. I was watching this documentary on this commune, and they burn the land to get it ready to plant new seeds. So in our in our in our spirits, in the midst of these necessary fights, it's also important to kind of burn away what's not important, because those are the things that tend to drag you down. So when you're thinking about this rest and rejuvenation and where you're putting your energy, I think I challenge you to consider what is lifting up your spirits, what is inspiring you, and what is expiring you. What are the things that you need to clear away? And that could be your conceptions. For a lot of people out there, maybe they're fighting on the site that's not going to look well on history. We'll put it that way. I'll try to be kind. So it's also thinking about, what are you learning and what is this teaching you? Because what you're learning and your thoughts will also change your mindset. And a big thought is thinking that we can't ever stop, right? We can't ever stop. And if we stop, then everything's going to go to hell and it's our fault because we didn't do enough. And that is something that will contribute to burnout. I have a, a person in my life, well, they were in my life, and they needed a lot of help. And I mistook that I was the person to provide that help for them. And it was draining me because I was working harder than this person for their own life. Well, that's subjective. Let me be very honest with myself. That is subjective, but I was putting in a lot of effort and there was no change. And I stole that from Yinka Esmar. What is inspiring you versus what is expiring you? That is totally a Yinka statement. So back to this situation. So it's putting a lot of energy and trying to meet this person's needs. Like, okay, I'll do this. And I was never comfortable with any of the things they were asking me to do. But I'm like, maybe I'm putting myself outside of my comfort zone. And a friend is like, look, you're always going to have people like this, and they're not going to change. And they will just use you up. And that was really hard for me. But it was also recognizing my ego. And my friend called me out like, this is an ego thing for you. You want to be a savior. And I really sat with myself about that. And it was true. So when we're doing these necessary fights, I think it's also important to let the group that we're fighting for center and determine the action with that. And that is what I did with this person. But like, it was the same thing and it wasn't working. So I cut off those ties and felt really like a horrible person, but like I also felt a lot more energy because of that. And guess what? They're still going. They're still doing their thing. They're still, tilting at windmills. And honestly, I really hope that it works out for them. But it's also knowing what battles we need to fight, what is necessary in the moment. And in the moment, if you're exhausted, if you are depleted, are you really adding to the battle, or are you just being cannon fodder? Are you becoming kindling for somebody else to burn up? So that is where the balance is on on that. So just tying this together so far, it's work on the things that are inspiring you, find the things to motivate. Yes, Asmar, identifying which fights are yours. An excellent way to sum it up. Thank you for that insight. So identifying the fights that are yours, and then finally, like, what's our way forward in the midst of all these necessary fights? And so the Pokemon card, wow, we got a lot of energy. Now we have lightning energy. This is a yellow Pokemon card with a yellow lightning bolt. with a yellow sphere and a lightning bolt. And when I think about yellow, I also consider, and I really don't want to culturally appropriate, but I really think about the chakra systems because in my journalings, it's been a lot about the solar plexus chakra, and this is the one about our personal power. And a lot of times we give away our power. We sacrifice our power because we feel helpless in these situations. So I think it's identifying when we're talking about how to rejuvenate your spirits, it's identifying what power you have and celebrating the wins, as tiny as they are. That is what motivates me to keep going on. Like on the days I'm like, I can't do this. Nobody cares. I'm fooling myself. I'm not good at this. Then I think about, is that really true? And that's a question to ask yourself. Is that really true? Because during my first live, my kid was having an absolute meltdown, and I did a reading about how to help people that really don't need your help at that point, because this was a case of the person needs to self-regulate. And I think you don't think they're listening, but they're listening. And by the end of my live, they come up with their own solution. Like, oh, I decided to do this instead. And crisis was averted. So sometimes it's thinking about not having those lightning fast decisions, right? It is about taking the time to pause and recognize what you can control. And you may not be able to control the things that you're fighting against, but you can always control your response. So I think to answer your question, and please, if I haven't fully answered the question and given you better questions, please put it in the comments to find other things. So it is recognizing that the world is on fire and fire needs oxygen. So with that, what what can you do to put the mask on yourself in these situations? It could be as literal as bring water to your protests, make sure you wear sunscreen, have an exit plan, have your contacts, make sure somebody knows where you are when you're in the midst of this fight. Thinking about what is inspiring you and what is expiring you. Um, Theme replay. Awesome. I'm glad that we're on the same thing. So it's being strategic about where you want to do the fights, because I know myself as sometimes a lot of just wailing and flailing at the things, and we're not really being effective. We're fired up and we're angry, and we're not doing things that will actually move the needle in a situation. I do that a lot at work, and I'm learning from that. So I have my own battles aside from the larger battles, but I'm noticing that I'm not getting anything done sometimes because I'm not being strategic in how I do things. I'm having conversations and assuming that, well, they're never going to change, and so I do all the work and nothing changes, and that is not a way forward. That is not taking advantage of my personal power in a situation. So sometimes it's also stepping back from the fight, because it's, as Mark correctly pointed out, it's not your fight in certain things. And maybe you need to be more of a background person. Maybe you need to be more of providing financial support, or maybe you really just need to take a nap. But do the things that are within your personal power and be very cognizant of not giving away that power and not being a victim. None of us are victims. We're definitely up against systems and forces that are trying to tear everybody down in the name of greed. But we have a lot of power together when we combine our resources. When you start that kindling, right? When you have all this little bits of flammable combustible material and you have a spark and you get it together, eventually you can throw logs onto a fire. You can't just light a log. It's not going to come out. It will extinguish your flame, right? So we have to work together collectively to build something big enough that then you can burn the logs and you can keep the fire burning. And just remember the oxidants. So I'm glad that helped. That was a great question. Thank you so much. And I'm definitely looking forward to your, well, I'm not being a part of this particular one, but for those of you who are listening, Asmara Kazmi is doing the Bartleby Challenge, and I highly recommend, because why not? It's a literary challenge, but it's also, I think, about exactly what we're talking about. It is another way to fight against the systems that you don't agree with or that are not serving you. So that's a great question. Thank you so much. And thank you for that. All right. So as we continue on, I'm going to go back to, and we can always go back until more questions come up, conflict resolution, because this one was fun to me. And I don't know what I did with Screll. So we'll just another one and start over on conflict resolution. So the first one is, let me go back to it. The first one is, what are you in this situation? I think this kind of ties in to what your question is as well. No, my pleasure. This ties back into your question, because a lot of this is about the conflicts that we're facing as we are in these battles. So let's dive deeper into that with our friends the Pokemon. So in this one I lost Skrelp, and that's okay. So we'll just go with the first card we get. So this is you in the situation, and we have the water energy Poke card. So in your conflict, it is, for me, what comes up this time is what lies beneath the surface. Because a lot of times we think we're mad about one thing, and really it is a deeper situation. It might be early early things from our childhood. It might be feelings of not being enough. It might actually be frustration. It could be fear. But the things that we're fighting against are not necessarily the things that we're mad about. I'll just put my own situation. I am responsible for a lot of voluntold people that have to do things that they didn't sign up to do, and I need to get it done. So that just sets up conflict right away. And it is not just about getting the work done. I think for me, it's, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't want to look incompetent. And it's very easy to get mad about what other people are doing. But if I put the light on myself, my deeper feelings are that I don't have the full skills and tools to manage a situation effectively. And that's why it's not getting done. It could also be people are jerks, but I like to try and find the good in people. So then it takes two to tango in a conflict, right? So, wow, this is like coming again. And these are brand new cards. I have a whole bag of them, but we get fire again, the fire energy card, which is this glowing sphere and a stylized flame. So fire and water definitely generally are in conflict, but they don't have to be. It's not about water just trying to put out the fire. Sometimes they come together and you can make steam, which is really good for your facial pores. But, when we're thinking about our colleagues, sometimes, yes, oh, you haven't heard that word? It's a fun word, voluntold. So when we're thinking about our conflicts with other people, like, try and be compassionate. Think about, maybe their world is on fire, and part of the conflict is they don't have the energy to deal with you and the things that you want. But we still have to figure out how to make this happen, how to make a good situation, right? Maybe we just need to dampen the wood a little, so the fire doesn't completely go out, but it sputters. I don't know as far as that goes. But this sounds like a classic conflict, right? So then let's think about, well, what are the concerns? So, first of all, what are your concerns in this situation? And I love this one. This is Masquerain. It is this kind of moth figure, and it's a little bug actually with dragonfly wings, and the wings that look here are actually its antenna, and they look like giant eyes. And this particular Pokemon's energy is struggle bug. So my concerns are, I want to look, this thing is trying to look big and bad by bringing up the angry eyeball looking antenna, and I don't want to struggle. It's a green energy card. So this is about grass energy, nature, being grounded. So my concerns are I want to look good. I want to look effective. I want to soar above the situation. I don't want to burn myself out in this situation. So then, okay, that's well and good, but again, it takes two to tango. So what's going on with our colleagues? And my colleagues card, we get Jigglypuff, which is a pink rotund Pokemon. It has like cat ears and a weird toupee looking thing. Jigglypuff is wandering around in amazement. In the background, there looks to be lightning. Way back here, there's lightning. I never get my right and left right. There's lightning and some kind of conflict happening in the back. So my colleagues are trying to deal with their actual day jobs because they've been voluntold to do something. And that literally he looks like, where do I go? There's bright, shiny, things happening in the air. Where am I going? Jigglypuff looks a little overwhelmed to me. And this is a fairy energy card. So their concerns are they probably need healing. They haven't had the time to do that because they're, oh my God, what is happening out here? So I'm trying to be big and bad. They're overwhelmed. That's not a great situation, right? And some of it, when you're trying to resolve conflict, is taking a moment to try and put yourself in the other person's shoes, to empathize with what is happening, not to excuse it, but to empathize, because we still have to look at the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish. And going back to the other conflicts that we're fighting for, it's important to not demonize other people, because at the end of the day, we're still humans, and some humans are committing some really horrible actions right now, but we can't forget that they are humans. And for me anyway, it's still better to try and help the other humans to find their way into their full humanity, because I think what is happening is a lot of people have been disconnected from their humanity. Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for joining. Appreciate it. But we'll just continue on because that's what I said I do. Really appreciate you showing up, Asmara. So team replay, we're going to keep going on with conflict resolution. So then what we need to think about is, okay, well, what is my ideal situation? And of course, I get lightning energy, because my ideal situation is that I'm empowered to fix things. Part of my job, as my day job as an analyst, is to think strategically and to help drive the customer experience. So my ideal situation is to get a spark and everybody is all excited and to go all in on solving things. That's a beautiful world for me. Everything is happier. We're taking action. We're an amazing team. That's what my ideal situation is. And that's nice, but we have another party, right? So what's their ideal situation? And this one, we have a lot of energies in this particular thing. We have a leaf energy Pokemon card, or grass energy in the world. It's a green card with a glowing green sphere, and it has a black leaf on it. So their ideal situation is probably to get some calm from the fights that they've been dealing with, all the fires that they've been trying to put out, right? Their ideal situation could be grounding, because here's what they're dealing with right now. And here's like some peace and calm. So perhaps they just want to chill and relax, and I want things to get done. So then, is there any common ground with that? And we get Pikachu. So here's Pikachu. This is the OG energy Pokemon card. He's a little yellow, rotund Pokemon with red cheeks, long ears. His tail is kind of like a lightning bolt. And Pikachu is happy in a village with flowers, and it's a blue sky and everything. And I think that's a really beautiful synthesis of the lightning energy and the grass energy Pokemon card. So here we have a happy individual that's energized and in beautiful situations. So, our common ground is finding out how to create these win win situations, a win for me, a win for my team, but most of all, in my particular situation, a win for the customers. So, when we're thinking about the battles that we're talking about, the resistance there, how do we create win win situations, which is accountability, right? We need accountability, but and consequences, because it's not just fiddle dee, everything is fine. We definitely need to find resolutions that repair harm, right? So for me, it could be apologizing if I'm overbearing. It for them, it could be not apologizing, but doing the things they need to do, taking control of the situation and doing what needs to happen to change that situation. So, the common ground is that we all want to be happy. We all want to live in beautiful circumstances and we want to be energized. So then how do we get there? What could be an outcome for finding that kind of situation? And this one we get Heatran. Wow, this is an interesting Pokemon. I need a second to actually think of what I'm looking at here, because sometimes these cards are so little. Okay. This looks like a lot of teeth. Um, I'm really flabbergasted at this one. Okay. This is a lot of teeth, and the I can't read the fine print. Give me a second to read the fine print, but it is a fire Pokemon card. And this one, boiling blood like magma circulates through its body. It makes its dwelling place in volcanic caves. Okay. So this is kind of like a rock creature on fire, I guess similar to the thing with this Pokemon. So when we're looking at what what is the result, it is it is to me, this is thinking about if the magma is running through its veins. It is the fire having a safe place to travel, a place that is conducive and can hold it. So I'm thinking of high pressure situations where that fire is contained and directed with this heat pan, this Heatran, right? Like we're all in this fire together. How can we contain our egos? How can we contain our emotions? And how can we strategically use our energy to build something together that provides a solution? So that is the Heatran card. And some of its things are guard press and boiling impact. So I think in this conflict resolution, sometimes things just got to blow up, right? Sometimes it's about, look, we're not going to be nice anymore, but we're going to be kind. Because I can sit there and just kowtow and have all this resentment building up, and it'll come out in the most unfortunate way, right? I won't be a professional, and that's not what we want to happen in this situation. So give the lava and the anger somewhere to go, so it doesn't get to that situation. Is what I'm thinking when I'm looking at this card. So the result that we want is to be strategic in, again, our energy levels, so that we can create these win-win situations, hold people accountable, but also not have a blow up in the situation. So what is the deeper lesson that we can learn from this kind of conflict? And oh my gosh, we have fighting energy again. What are we fighting for? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And in conflicts, I think it's about picking your battles as well. Is it that every single situation that comes up has to be solved and has to have a deep dive? I mean, in an ideal world, yes. that would be how you solve problems, is to take the time to deep dive everything. But when you're comparing that to the world being on fire, or people running around like with their heads cut off, then you really have to focus them on bigger trends, so that they're not expending as much energy on the smaller fires. But yeah, eventually, if you don't put out the fires, they will coalesce and burn, and we get heat strand, right, in this situation. So thinking about conflict resolution on a whole, for me and for those of you out there, ask yourself, why are you fighting this battle? What is your why? What are you trying to accomplish in the fighting? And fighting is such a polarizing term. Like, I'm feeling like violence with this term fighting. So maybe a better way to phrase it is, what are we trying to accomplish? What is the reason that we're expending so much energy into a certain situation, right? What is the reason that we're expending the energy? And are we expending our energy in the right battles? Are we getting frustrated because we're not directing our own energy properly? And so we're working really hard, right? We're doing all the things. We're trying to put on a big face, but we're really not being effective, because it's just show. Sometimes, looking pretty or getting those one-line zingers in. I'm a big fan of the zingers, but really, then what's the result on the other people? Are you helping them? Are you being part of the healing, because it's a healing card, or are you continuing to add fuel to the fire? So I don't have full answers for you on conflict resolution, but I think I have some better questions. Like, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Is there a way to view the concerns of the other parties? Is there a way to bring some things together? And I recognize that compromise doesn't mean that, okay, we'll just kowtow to what the oppressor wants. That's definitely not what we're talking about here. There are some more pressing and powerful concerns that do need to be addressed in conflict resolution. That isn't something that's going to lollipop and sunshine away. I'm going to look up a little bit more on Heatran while we're here to give you all a better insight. Okay, I'm looking at a different picture of this Pokemon, not covered in the mountains. So here we go. So it is a rock looking Pokemon, and it has the magma flowing through its veins. So that helps. And in this particular picture, it looks like Heatran is bellowing in the card. So Heatran is kind of hit a wall to some cases in the conflict. So when we hit a wall, what are the things that we can do? Because that's a lot of time a conflict is immovable object meets immovable object, and they have to find a way forward. They have to find a way to let that magma flow in the situation. So it has four claws, a gray undersign. Its face is covered with a mask. It has red orange eyes, and they remain open even when it sleeps. So yeah, and it's a fierce guardian, and it has the power of the magma stone. So without this magma stone, Heatran would rampage and cause the volcanic crater where it dwells to erupt. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. We don't want the volcano to erupt in conflict resolution. We want to try and look at all the sides equally and come to a happy place to create something happy. And sometimes that is being strategic and showing people the vision that you're trying to come forward with when you're trying to talk about change. What is the vision? In change management, a big thing is, well, why do I need to change? Everything's been working out fine. Yeah, everything's working out fine for you, but what about our customers, or what about these other groups of people? I'm going to go all over the place to talk about like people in the DEI field. When workplaces want to be the great place for all, or the great place to work, or whatever categories, top employer and all these things, then that's another place you can think about why you need change. It might be working out for the people who've always been in charge, but what about everybody else? What about your frontline employees? What about your people that maybe aren't in an office? Is it working out for them? So going back to conflict resolution, think about the fights that you want to have. Again, what are you trying to accomplish? What is the vision? And how can you create the biggest win for the most people to have the biggest impact? How can you bake that into the situation? A lot of times with conflict resolution, I'll take it away from work and just look at it from a parent and their kid. You want the best for the other person, but they have their own ideas about what's best for them. And a lot of times, I'm going to go back to regular people, not kids. A lot of times we assume what the other person needs instead of asking them. We have an idea of how things should happen. So part of conflict resolution is being open to other solutions, that your solution may not be the best, but you can also throw in criteria like, okay, let's go with your solution, but is this going to solve the problem? Is this addressing the root cause? Are we going to see the same problem again? Are you open to returning and revisiting this if what you put into place isn't working? So sometimes it's giving people the freedom to try things that may not be the solutions you would come up with. But at the end of the day, is it accomplished? We'll jump back to kids. Your mission is you want the clothes folded, for example. Did they fold it? Yes. Does it look like how you'd want it to? No. Is it your clothes that they're folding how you don't want it to? No or yes? Okay, then what's the impact? And then you show them, like, look, when you fold it like this, everything is wrinkled. If you don't mind being wrinkled, that's fine. But if you're dealing with my things, then XYZ. Or look, I want you to do yours, but mine just lay out. I will deal with them, or hang them on a hanger, right? It's about finding different solutions to work with all of these energies. I wish I could invite my phone and show you this full layout. Maybe I'll take a picture and put it in the comments for this conflict resolution. In fact, I will try and do that right now. Yeah. So conflict resolution at its core, it's about managing all these different kinds of energies and situations that come to play in one situation, and doing your best with that. So give me a second. I'm going to put this in the comments so you can see all these energies together, because it's striking just to see everything together. And for those of you that are there, I'll put a quick comment. 1, 2, 3. I think this is 9 cards. 9 Pokemon cards. Picture description to follow. So I'll edit this later and put in the description, but it is being talked about on the live. So that was really interesting to me about conflict resolution, especially when we were talking about the earlier question about all the battles that are happening right now. One thing, though, that is non-negotiable are people and people's right to exist. So in where I live in Florida, the battle for transgender rights, I'm not going to compromise that people don't have the right to exist. That's a non-starter. And we'll have to do different situations to handle that, because people absolutely have the right to exist. Wow, those are some really good questions that have come up today. I don't see any other questions in the queue right now, But if you are lurking, please put your question in the comments. I don't have to mention your name if you're shy. That I would love to hear from you. And if you're enjoying this series and you're shy, just post a question or DM me your question and I'll address it on the next live. The next live is going to be tomorrow at 6 a.m. So, same time tomorrow for my UK peeps or my people on the other side of the pond. Going forward I'm going to piggyback on the other question is how do you keep going against the odds? In my morning journaling today, I think the first card that I thought about was don't give up. And like I said, I'm on day 3 of this, and every day someone has come and encouraged me in this marathon. And I always think about what am I trying to accomplish with this? And yes, I do want to help people to hold space, to ask questions, and to have fun and help people to think of things in a different way. But it's also for me to think of myself and my offerings in a different way and to reinforce that I do bring something to the table. I do have value. Even though it seems quirky and weird, then I'll work with quirky and weird people, and that's totally awesome for me. So if you are enjoying this series, if you would like to have one of these conversations one-on-one with me, just reach out and we can discuss this further, and I'd be happy to work with you. Uh, so we're going to continue on. Wow, more water energy cards. Because I was thinking, how do I personally find the strength to continue with this series that I dreamed up in my journaling and said I'm going to commit to doing something big and bold. And I'm going to do it every day because I'm not as cool as Taslim to do a 12-hour marathon, but a whole month-long marathon has its own particular challenges because life happens, which is why these times are so squirrely. So, what's happening right now, I'm definitely in my feelings about this situation. I'm actually feeling good. This is inspiring me. It's not expiring me because the questions that do come up or the questions that come to mind uh, continue to inspire me to explore. There's so many people that have the same struggles. We are all struggling with continuing, like a big theme through the start of this series has been, how do I keep going on in whatever it is? There's different permutations of the question, but at the core of it is, how do I keep going on? And I think part of it, when I think of this water card this time, is having a deep well, a deep core about why you want to do this. So this is your vision, your North Star. And what's happening, maybe if you're having struggles with that, is you haven't fully defined why you're doing this, why you want to go on, why this battle is important. Or maybe you're just tired, or maybe you're just thirsty, and it's hard to be motivated when you're not taking care of yourself. So I'm staying hydrated as I do this series, super important, and exploring my own fears and doubts about this, but I'm doing it anyway. And for anybody out there that has tried something and it's not working exactly as you expected it to work, I encourage you to not give up, because I haven't died from this. I'm not dying of embarrassment. There is a record of this out there. Every single LinkedIn Live stays up forever until until I guess I delete it, which I'm not going to. And hopefully you all will see the growth, and it will encourage you to put in the effort to do something every day. If you've never done a live before, go live. If you have the ability to go live, what's the worst that can happen? Nobody will watch it. Okay, then you've learned to be able to do these things on your own and watch the replay and see, well, what can I do differently to engage people to come to your lives, right? So everything, even failure, is a learning situation. So that challenge is fire. Once again, fire's been a big theme today. Again, it's a orange card with a orange glowing sphere and a fire icon. So once you find that deep well, that is something that can energize you to keep going on with it. And if if you're if you adopt a testing mindset, that is from my friend Akua Kant. If you're a job seeker out there, Akua is a great job search coach, so you can contact her. And if you are challenged with aversion, my prior guest on here, Esmara Kazmi, great coach to help you stop faffing about, as she duly says. So we have the depths, and we have, once again, conflict between the things that we want to do and our energy levels. So part of the challenge is to try and put yourself in a good high energy place to keep going when it seems like you want to give up. Oh my gosh, then we have fighting. So the advice is literally don't give up. This is a fighting energy card. It's a deep burnt orange color with a fist icon, and this one has a comet, so it's extra sparkly. So don't give up. Whatever you're trying to accomplish out there, it may not happen the first time. It may not happen the second time. It may not happen the sixth time. There is a NASA astronaut. I cannot remember his name. It's not astronaut Mike. He was the first, also Hispanic astronaut to go up in space. He tried, I think it was 12 times total before he finally got to become an astronaut. And each time he failed, he learned something new. He learned, okay, well, what are the people that are passing doing? Okay, well, they have this kind of certification. Okay, I'm going to get this certification. He kept trying new things and stepping up his game until finally he was able to become an astronaut. So if your first effort, your first live, or your first protest, or your first effort to repeal something didn't work out, try something different. The world is a testing mindset. For me, when I decided to do these series, I promised myself I'm going to have fun. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to just come at this as I'm hanging out with my friends, my virtual friends here online, and I'm not going to give myself the pressure to perform and to have the perfect show. It's not super flashy. Like, I'm pretty excited. I have a ticker and a logo. So going forward, what can we do? And we have Mikuhita. Mikuhita is a fighting Pokemon. It's yellow. It kind of looks like Big Hero 6. It's a humanoid figure with red cheeks, and it has like two antennae above its head, and it's wearing boxing gloves. So this it's striding through the jungle, very determined and happy. So my next step is to do this again tomorrow, to not give up, to continue this fight, to take advice and feedback. My youngest said, "Mom, you should talk about the questions you answered and make that a post." So today we'll put the questions that we tackled today in the feedback, and I hope that is helpful to you all to see the kind of questions that have been asked out there. I don't think there's any dumb questions, and part of my goal today is to think of other questions to explore tomorrow to spark inspiration for the rest of you. It could also be to notice how many times I say in a situation, or so, because I notice I do that a bit as a transition. Therefore, okay, that's a word that's not so. I will do that tomorrow, and you can play a fun game and catch how many times did Stacy Casson say so in her live cast. Are they getting any better? Is she doing a better job at not repeating that word so often? I love this spread though about not giving up. It's very encouraging. And that's why I love working with Pokemon. They surprise you. So don't give up fighting, having that purposeful stride. Makihito, I'm murdering his name. Makuhita knows where they're going. They're on a mission, and so am I, and so are you. Some of us are, the folks I hang out with, our mission is to fight for a world, what we still have a world, that we still have plants and trees and we can breathe and other people can breathe. Makuhita also doesn't play around. They got boxing gloves on. They're not a sucker. And I love that it's yellow because I think that reflects back on this idea of personal empowerment. So walk, see, I did so again, but that's okay because that's for me to work on as a speaker. But walk through that jungle. The jungle is kind of unknown circumstances, creating your own path, but don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, to take back your power, to find things that empower you, whether that be learning something new, whether that be staying hydrated, getting enough rest. I absolutely plan on taking a nap today. That is my goal. And to do things that work within the amount of energy I have to work with on a certain situation. Sometimes when I write my posts, I challenge myself and do very long spreads. And honestly, the biggest challenge is writing out all the descriptions for the cards. So sometimes that you'll get a shorter blog post just because I don't want to write out all the descriptions. True story. I'm being very honest with you because it takes a lot of energy to do that. But I think I will keep with the other one I'm going to do on conflict resolution and have a think. So be ready for a slightly not longer newsletter tomorrow when that comes out. And we still have 4 minutes if there are any other questions out there. I don't see anything in the comments that's happening out there. But for those of you that have stuck with me this whole time, thank you so much. I have one viewer that stuck with me this whole time lurking, and that's totally fine. Just when you're ready, you can ask your question because I'm doing one of these every day. So tomorrow, our cast is going to be 6 a.m. Eastern Time. I hope you all can join, especially those of you that are maybe early birds and are doing your own morning papers, your own morning journaling. Maybe you'll get some journaling prompts from tuning in. If you were a team replay, please feel free to post in the comments the things that you enjoyed or the questions you have or how I can make this better. I'm totally open to feedback. It's a gift. I thought to myself, an hour, that's a really long time, but it has flown by today doing some of the more challenging spreads. Ooh, what advice would you give someone who's trying to find their voice and share publicly like you are? That's a great question, Lorenzo. Thank you. For that one, I'm going to do stop, start, continue because we have 2 minutes. So, and it works in reverse. So continue. This is a Persian and it is a cat. And if we know cats, they speak up no matter what. They don't care. They're going to make some noise. This one is a dark energy Pokemon card. So again, it's thinking about what are the underlying systems. And so for you trying to find your voice, what is the underlying message that you are trying to share? So that's what you want to continue doing. Continue speaking up, continue trying new things, and then stop. We have Dialga. This is, it kind of looks like Voltron crossed with a sea anemone. And this one is a metal energy Pokemon card. So I would stop things that block your flow. I would stop putting in guard gates for what you're trying to say and accomplish. Stop being constrained with your message and be willing to try new things. And then finally with stop, start, continue, we do start. And it's the green leaf energy card. This is a green card with grass, like it's grass energy, and it has a leaf icon in the center. So start maybe finding ways to be more organic and also back to nurturing and grounding yourself. So, someone who's trying to find their voice is coming back to what are the things that are important to you? What are the things that bring you life? Because to me, grass and being in nature is about helping things to grow. What are you trying to grow? So, putting them all together, we have being willing to speak out loud no matter what, even if you sing off key, go and enjoy the joy of that, is to not allow challenges to hold you back, to constrain you. Metal is also something that withstands a storm. So don't give up the storms, and to find the things that nurture you and help you to grow. So that is it in a nutshell, because we're at time. And Lorenzo, I might tackle that one tomorrow in more depth. So thank you so much for joining, and everybody have a fantastic day.